I know the human being and fish can coexist peacefully.
You are fake news. Did you know I never used a prepared speech?
If fool me, we can't get fooled again. Read my lips. No new matches.
My fellow Americans,
Facts don't care about your feelings.
and then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House! You lying dog-faced pony soldier. They got the freaking guts. Because they saw someone who wasn't bullshitting them.
I know the human being and fish can coexist peacefully.
You are fake news. Did you know I never used a prepared speech?
If fool me, we can't get fooled again. Read my lips. No new matches.
My fellow Americans,
Facts don't care about your feelings.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another mind-altering debates.
Thank you.
Tonight's motion: defend your property with lethal force. My name is Derek Dobish, and I'll be your moderator this evening. Our club meets monthly to discuss issues of ethics, politics, philosophy, and more. We've been doing this for about a year and a half now, and we keep growing every month. It's important to note that while things may get heated during the debate tonight, we all are very good friends, and we don't let disagreement get in the way of that. One of our many goals, beyond entertainment and education, is to revitalize the concept of healthy debate within society without it devolving into a mind-numbing shouting match. I'm going to post the pre-debate poll into the link into the chat now. Everyone watching along on the YouTube live stream can follow that link, and sorry, having a little trouble tonight.
It's Ben Rippey's fault. He tripped on the power.
Slander!
And the debate has begun!
I'm trying to sabotage this debate from the beginning.
I'll do anything to win.
We're joined tonight by a live studio audience and by our online audience. As I mentioned before, I've posted the link to the pre-debate poll in the chat. So please follow that link and select the option that best represents how you feel about this topic going into the debate. At the end of the debate, we'll have a post-debate poll to see if anyone changed their minds on the issue. The winning team will be the one that changed the most minds, and not necessarily the team that has the most votes overall. Our goal is to test persuasiveness, test how persuasive we can be, and not how popular our opinions are. Straw Poll, the website that we use, uses an automatic IP detection feature, which prevents prevents duplicate voting. If you're having trouble casting your vote, then switch off of your Wi-Fi feature on your phone and just use your mobile data to complete the vote. That will give you a unique ID, and you'll be able to vote properly. So, the topic tonight is defend your property with lethal force. It's a spicy topic, to be sure, and perhaps a bit morbid, but an important ethical question nonetheless. Should you be able to use lethal force against someone trying to steal your car? How about someone vandalizing your property? At what point does it go too far? We'll find out during tonight's mind-altering debate. And to start, while we're waiting for people to cast their votes on our pre-debate poll, as mentioned, linked in the chat, I'd like to go through and just kind of introduce everyone a little bit. For the motion, we have Mike Heidelberger. Tell us a bit about yourself, Mike.
I am a God-fearing patriot. I've won every single debate I've been in, and I can't wait to hear what my ally has to say tonight.
That's very confident. I got a lot of confidence right out the gate. I'm sure he'll do fine. Mike's partner, Boone Greenlee. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be here. I'm kind of supposed to be at the shingle factory, but they let me go. I mean, whatever. I'm thrilled to be on Mike's team. As you know, he's a heavy hitter. I'm sure all of you know that. Like, I can be the anchor, and we'll do just fine.
All right. We've got an anchor and Mike. All right. Moving to the team that is opposed to the motion, defend your property with lethal force. We have Brandon Heidelberger. Why don't you introduce yourself to everyone at home, Brandon?
I'm a homeowner, and I recently broke my leg, so I feel so strongly about this motion. I crawled all the way here. My broken legs.
That is true. Doesn't mean it's right.
Well, we're glad you made it, and just between you and me, like, we can barely even tell. Like, they're doing wonderful things with titanium these days. Ben Rippey, another debater opposed to the topic. Why don't you introduce yourself as well?
Well, unlike Mike, I have lost every single debate except against Mike. I have unseated him. So in that way, I am the undefeated champion because I've defeated the undefeated champion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, sort of, I consider myself a Viking in that sort of way, where I have won the Super Bowl by defeating other teams that have actually got the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we're screwed.
Yeah. So, as the Viking chief of my side and defender of over 500 people's homes by being an apartment manager, I firmly believe in my side, and I will take down the, once again, undefeated champion.
Cool. So, just before we get started, I'll give everyone a quick rundown of how our debate will go tonight. We'll begin with opening statements. Each side will get each person will get 2 minutes to give an opening statement. We'll alternate teams. And then after that, we'll move into the free discussion section, where the debaters will be free to fight with each other and yell and be very respectful while calling each other unspeakable words. And also really just kind of get things out there in a real, just bare-knuckle boxing, intellectual blood sport, free-for-all. After that, we'll move into the question segment, which is where the audience will get to ask questions, and we will take questions from our live in-studio audience, as well as from the YouTube live chat, and all the debaters will respond to that. And finally, we'll move into closing statements. We'll get up to 2 minutes per person for closing statements, and then we'll move into the post-debate polling section. So, before we start...
If anybody hears the dog screaming, that's just the cat scratching them.
No dogs were made or harmed in the making of this video.
Yep. Before we start, we'll have a word from our sponsors. Hands Down. It's the easiest way to keep your hands down. Made right here in Minnesota, though they aren't being made anymore. If you ask politely, the inventor who's listening in on this very conversation we're having might make you one. Would also like to thank Frontier Properties, an apartment housing company in the North Minnesota area. What are you doing in the city still? You've seen what it's been like. Get the hell out of there. Yeah. Frontier Properties, Pine City and more.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll move on to the opening statement section. I'd like to start with the team that is for the motion. Which of you would like to go first?
I'll start this off.
Alrighty. You have 2 minutes, starting whenever you're ready.
Awesome. Great introduction. Thank you everyone who's here to this night's debate. I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed. This is a powerful oath that our brave men and women take when they decide to serve in the armed forces. It's too bad that my opponents want to take away one of their most effective tactics for protecting your land and mine. Because that's exactly what my friends on the other side of this debate are trying to do. We have seen the destructive outcome of what happens when law enforcement and law-abiding citizens lose the freedom to defend oneself and their property. We only need to drive 30 minutes south of here to see the unacceptable outcome of the burned businesses and houses of Minneapolis. Have you been there? Have you seen Minneapolis? That's all I want to say for now. Let that sink in.
Would you like it to sink in for a few more minutes?
All right.
For 45 more seconds.
That's right.
Thank you very much, Mr. Heidelberger. All right. Now for the opposed side, who would like to go first? Brandon?
Yep.
All right. You have 2 minutes, starting whenever you're ready.
So, with this debate, I feel like we need to define property. And in that, it's things possessed. Land, buildings, items, vehicles. In which case, lethal force is only justified if you have self-defense reasoning, right? So if you're in your vehicle or in your house and your life is threatened, then you can use lethal force. But if you're just defending your car that's outside your home and there's no threat to you, you shouldn't be able to kill someone that is trying to break in, vandalize, or who knows what they're trying to do. We have police that deal with criminals in our society, so us citizens do not have to fight each other. When someone that you think is breaking or trespassing on your property is a threat to you, you call the police, and we have them here for our protection, where we don't have to take matters into our own hands. Currently, robbers, they obviously are trying to steal from you, but they don't necessarily have to fear for their lives. They don't have to carry a weapon, and if there's lethal force that they're justified to be used against them, they might start using, weapons more often, carrying with them, because of the potential of harm to themselves. That's pretty good.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Brandon Heidelberger. Mr. Boone Greenlee, the opening statement is yours, sir.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I agree with that. We have to define what property means. And, like, I don't mean any old property like my little balloon that floated into the street. You know, I'm just going to light up Timmy or something because he grabbed it. I mean, like, my family's place to sleep and have shelter. Things I need to feed myself and my family. Things I need for my livelihood. At the end of the day, if you took away, like, all of my property, we would inevitably die for other reasons. Maybe not the initial theft of the property, but if you go far enough. I also don't believe that defending with lethal force always ends in death. It's just that it very well could. So I'm not just like, just make sure people are dead. It's just like, I think there's a distinction there that matters. And spoiler alert, I don't have much data on why you should defend your property. Primarily, I just want to say don't be a coward like my opponents. But what little data I have, I found on Google just moments ago, looking at countries with high rates of home invasions. Australia tops the list. It also has extremely low gun ownership and very strict gun laws. One can't own a gun unless they demonstrate genuine reason, which does not include self-defense. So pretty much nobody can. It's very difficult. So if my opponents have it their way, our home invasion rates will definitely increase. So I also want to say, like, it's interesting. I didn't even really think about it, but the citizens of Minneapolis are, like, kind of being confronted with a world where maybe they do have to like take things into their hands a little more and not be able to defend, not be able to count on police to defend them. So that's kind of like an interesting thing. It's new. So I just want to say join me in voting for the motion. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Mr. Rippey, you have the last word of the opening statements whenever you're ready.
I love having the last word. So my big problem with this motion of defending your property with lethal force is it really amounts to encouraging a very wild west and reckless abandon of law. Every man, woman, child is now suddenly an executioner and can just kill anybody as long as you're defending your property. You can sit on your lawn and just start shooting anybody who comes across it. You're all of a sudden, in the Wild West, and killing just doesn't matter. And that just is mind-blowing to me that we would just allow anybody to kill anybody over property. Stealing is not even a capital crime legally within this country. Like, if you were to steal and, get caught by the police, we're not even going to kill you legally for that. And so if you want to talk about countries where it is a capital crime to steal, we're gonna be looking at the prime models of Afghanistan, Algeria, Cameroon, what a lovely place, China, Iran, what a lovely place to ideal the American dream off of, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, North Korea, all lovely places where we could shoot people for stealing. This is the America that Boone and Mike want to live in right now. And that's frankly not the America I want to live in. I want to live in a place where we can freely and live our lives. And yes, defend our lives, but not defend our property like we're in North Korea just shooting people like running across their lawn and because they say something weird about the government. And that's what this is about. It's about not just like running a Wild West and just shooting people because they're stealing or they're afraid of stealing, and it's about defending your life. We're encouraging that, absolutely, but not anything further than that. That just seems way excessive and not something in a society I would like to live in.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rippey. All right, let's have a round of applause for opening statement. Some good points. So moving into the free discussion section. I'd just like to just a basic prompt to the for position, just to get the ball rolling. What do you think of the idea that it actually takes more courage not to shoot someone who's trying to damage your stuff and to follow the law than to actually shoot them?
I could probably agree. It probably does take a lot of courage. I mean, it depends on the person.
I definitely think it takes more courage, but I think that people should have the option of protecting oneself and one's family. We're not saying if someone crosses your property line, you should shoot them. We're saying you should defend your property. So,
What does that mean? We say you should defend your lives as well. So where's the difference?
Well, I can give an example of China called the Great Leap Forward, happened in like late 1950s. The government just started taking people's property, like because their Great Leap Forward demanded it, and they're just like, nope, you don't get to have your stuff anymore. It was the greatest famine in all of human history. I wish they would have been defending themselves better, but they just kind of like, well, we do what our government says. So.
Well, that's fighting a tyranny and fighting government, right? Versus fighting to defend your own property. That's, I think,
Well,
a
we
little
didn't say
bit
who.
different.
Yeah.
We didn't say defend from who. I am more worried about the government in this whole thing. I don't like the idea of the government just being like, nope, like we're just suddenly deciding that you can't own your property anymore. You didn't wear a face mask or some shit, so like this property is
we
like
see
yours
that
now.
time and time again in history. The United States is an exception to the rule. There is a lot of these. The countries that you listed is a prime example of who those property owners should be defending themselves from. It's not the Korean people that are shooting and killing each other. It's they're afraid of the government. In that example, that's not the only thing that I would limit this debate to. But all those examples you listed, that's the government. Not all of them, but you listed North Korea.
Government also allows is also executing other people for stealing property as well from other people, and so that's the problem I have with it is people being allowed and to kill other people over their own property, and that's my problem with it is if you think somebody is going to be stealing your property, and all of a sudden we have a law that says, yeah, you can shoot them if you think they're going to steal your property. We now just made it a capital crime that you can now shoot people and kill people and execute them. And we now gave that power away from, a non-biased government, protected democracy, and we now gave that to the hands of every man, woman, and child to now be executioner of other people's lives.
The question
that is a huge problem.
Yeah.
That's the Wild West.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about stealing like a pack of gum. What if somebody's literally stealing like your farm that you own?
Well, it'd be threatening your own life, right? Like if you take away everyone's
What do you mean,
resources.
right? I don't follow the connection. Connect the dots. for me.
Sorry, you're threatening their life because if you take away someone's food, like if you capture someone and put them in a box and give them any food, they're gonna die.
Right, I'm saying like you own a farm and it makes food and you sell your food and somebody just comes onto your farm and like, no, this is mine now.
Which happens in South America all the time. It's happening right now as we're talking. It's probably happening.
Let me tell you about a complex idea that we use in the apartment industry. What we do when somebody is squatting and taking away property that is not theirs and they're using it illegally, we evict them through the court system and we don't shoot them. How about that idea? How about we do that to people? We call...
Who evicts them? Who does the job?
Was it they refused to leave?
It
Was it
would
they
be
have a gun?
The government would be, you file a claim with the government, and you say, this person is illegally on my land.
No, I'm
They've
saying
illegally
like,
taken it.
who pulls the person out?
The police. You
The
literally
police,
call
do
a
the police have
policeman.
firearms?
They do have a firearm.
You know, police
yes.
might be listening to this debate.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
are people
yeah.
too,
Yeah.
and they have to defend property through the force, right?
They are not. They do not have the authority to shoot somebody during an eviction.
Sure.
Yeah, that's just not a thing.
But they can grab them and pull them, right?
Yeah, they can grab them.
And if
and
that
pull
person
them.
they're pulling on starts
Yeah.
getting threatening or attacking back, and
That
push
should
them then,
They're not legalized to use
property
lethal
defending.
force for an eviction. Now they might be legalized if they are threatening their life
Sure.
rather than a property threatening their life, yes, they
But
might be
so
called
the
to use
evicted
lethal
person
force.
can't just ask the police to leave, can they?
No.
No. There's definitely lethal force. It's just an immediate step next.
That's not lethal force. Like, that's force, yes, but it's not lethal force. The police isn't saying like, "I will kill you if you do not leave." That's not at all what is being
Right.
said.
I'm going to pull
Like,
you out of here.
or like, he's not even not any definition of like lethal force, firearms, blades, explosives, whatever. Like,
Sure.
I will use something to like get you out of here, like that will likely kill you. That's just not something that happens with
I
eviction.
want to ask your side this, because this is going on right now, and I think this is the reason why we started this debate, is what is your guys' solution to George Floyd Square or the Portland scenario that's going on right now? How is your side dealing with it? When they're talking about defunding the police, getting rid of the police force, which you just referenced, to get these people out of your apartments, what's the option for these people that now don't even have a police force? So are they going to do it themselves? But I just want to. I don't want to give you any ideas. So.
Minneapolis does have a police force. That's definitely very true. And second of all, I absolutely do not recommend anybody to shoot somebody to defend their property in Minneapolis. As somebody who works in Minneapolis and is in charge of other people's homes, I would not say if somebody's stealing your bike, go shoot them. I would not say if somebody's, had
That's not what we're saying either.
or
lethal
stealing your
force
car
doesn't mean the intent to just kill outright. It's not the goal. Lethal force can result in death. It's a lot of force that could result in death. It's not like, I just want this person dead.
Yeah, well, the definition of lethal force is to use a force that will cause serious bodily injury that will likely result in death. That's the definition.
Likely, but not
likely. It's not guaranteed. Yeah. Sure, it's not like the lethal injection where like, yep, we know this will kill them. Like, it's, you shoot somebody. Yeah. You might not kill them when you shoot them.
Yeah.
But that's the purpose. That the purpose is to take them down.
I still want to hear your guys' sides. My question, you didn't answer it. What's the solution? What are your thoughts on Portland? Like Portland right now. What are your thoughts?
What are you referencing with Portland? Like
the rioting, the burning, how the police have basically been kicked out, not allowed in to protect these businesses. The federal government tried to come in. The mayor told them to leave, that they weren't welcomed, and now it's just a burn room, kind of like what we saw in Minneapolis. It's just a more extreme version.
Yeah, I would say the government should be using non-lethal force to disperse these crowds, but not lethal force. Now, if these people are going to start shooting people and killing people recklessly, then yes, we should be using lethal force to subdue that crowd in order to protect people's lives.
Yeah, you're not talking about property.
But in the meantime, if it's just property, non-lethal force means should be used. What are those non-lethal force forms? We have tear gas, very effective. We have
we know what they are.
Yeah, it's okay. So there is the solution. We have been using it very effectively in Minneapolis, and they can be using it just as effectively in Portland as well.
Can I ask?
They just seem to lack the
Can I ask about tasers?
initiative.
What do you think about tasers?
I would have to dive into the exact lethality, but my belief. My understanding is that tasers are considered non-lethal force.
Less
they are
than lethal,
not,
right? That's what the terminology, rubber bullets is less than lethal.
The point is not to cause serious bodily injury or death. It does not normally ever cause that.
But
There's
we can agree that they
to it.
can and do kill people. Tasers can and do kill people.
Yeah.
Rubber
So does
bullets
paper.
Can and do kill people.
We could cut people to death with paper. You
Right,
know,
right.
we could throw rocks at people.
For you, it kind of once it gets over 51% of the time it kills, then it's lethal. But 49%,
I wouldn't
not
say
so
it's
much.
a 50% thing.
Sure.
I would have to
Well, you initially said most of the time.
It would definitely be somewhere much higher percentage-wise, I would say.
Brandon, did you have any thoughts on this?
Well, Boone asked me what I thought about non-lethal force, so I think that's still is not a valid solution. So if they're threatening your property, you shouldn't be able to chase them down and use non-lethal force on them. Like, you can't just keep tasing them when they're on the ground. Like, that seems too far. So
One
call
tase
the
is
police,
enough.
say, hey, leave, I call the police. You can defend yourself and your family, and then wait for the police to arrive.
And when the police arrive, they're allowed to use lethal force?
If they're threatened. So if they're not leaving, they're going to be arrested
So-
and dealt with criminally. But if the police get...
But what if the homeowner feels threatened? Do you give them less exception than a police officer?
I'd just like to jump in here real quick, just to remind the debaters. I know that this is a pretty vague topic, but we're not here to discuss proper police use of force. We are discussing individuals' ability to defend their own property with lethal.
Well, my next step was police are individuals, and they're included in this discussion.
Sure.
They're human beings. They're individuals. If we are blanket statement no lethal force, then police aren't allowed to use it either.
Well, like I
I'm not
said,
going to give you that.
police should be able to defend themselves with lethal force if they're being threatened. If they're on their property, they should have to tackle them, arrest them, and then they'd be dealt with through the normal channel of punishment for misdemeanors.
Yeah, police officers should never be using lethal force unless it's for their own life and like safety. And this should be
Or
well
save
documented.
someone else.
What if it's
and they
not
should be considered innocent until proven guilty. But it should be like absolutely documented. Yeah, you killed that person. Absolutely.
Again, I want to go back to Portland just because it is so extreme right now. We're not just talking about one person that's easy to deal with or a couple people. We're talking about like a whole city's worth of people that are destroying and refusing to leave. And right now, I think it's not being addressed because it's such an extreme situation. And I think at some point, lethal force will probably have to be used to clear these areas. Maybe not.
But I don't think that should be up to a business owner. I don't think they start opening up fire on a crowd because they're rioting. They should first try to evacuate the area, or if they're being under threat, they can use lethal force. But they should call the cops and use them to disperse the crowds.
So were you guys against when the Minneapolis rioting was going on? When I think it was an Asian business owner got his buddies and his friends to stand on the roof with firearms to deter a crowd. Would you disagree that they had those firearms to protect their business, their livelihood, their lives?
Like, it's kind of a gray area, right? Because they have the option to use lethal force, but they weren't using it, right? They didn't. I don't think they shot anyone to death.
Yeah, but
I would
So
say
use a threat of lethal force?
I would say the point of somebody standing outside with an AR, it should only be used to defend life as a deterrent to say, like, do not kill anybody in here because I have a gun and I will kill you if you try to kill anybody in here. That's what it should be for. If it's just for property, I do not think people have a right to defend their business with just a assault rifle. Yes, I understand it is,
so we have to
something
put
very
human
important to
bodies
them.
on the line.
Human bodies
So
have
we have to
be
put our family members inside the house or our business, and then it's
Yeah, it's the risk we're taking.
So-
like
You don't really know what's
look
going
at
to
it.
happen.
Look at it the other extreme. You could say that if I fear somebody taking my property, and that's all it takes to allow me to shoot somebody. Think about all the nervous willies.
No.
All the nervous
just the
willies
fear
who
that doesn't
are like,
authorize you
I'm in
to.
my
If they're
house.
actively destroying
Sure.
your property.
So let's say
the
I'm-
fear of it doesn't give you the authorization.
Okay, so let's say I'm in my house, right? And I have my wife and children sleeping in the room, and I see somebody who I just think looks suspicious, and I'm afraid because I have anxiety, And let's say I've even been like assaulted before, and I see somebody coming up the driveway, I just shoot them, right then and there. They haven't done anything to threaten those people inside the house, right? But I just, and now it's become legal that it's okay for me to shoot that person
I
because
disagree with you.
I was
I'm not
fearful.
advocating that.
I was fearful that somebody was going to take my property, right?
Well, you were fearful of your
now
wife
there's,
and child.
Now there's a very big difference between that person being in the driveway, right, and suspicious somebody you weren't expecting, versus that person busting through the door with a gun and saying like, give me the, effing money, like show me, or like give me your TV or something. That is a very different scenario.
But that's already
right?
a missing gray area in defending your life, right? There's already a defend your life law that is on the books. It's already very gray, and we've seen some really weird things that have happened out of it. I could accept that it'll be a gray area with property as well. It just is.
I actually was reading about this, like that states that have the castle law, defend your property, that I guess one benefit to freeing up the law and making it a little bit more is there'd be less chance for bias, because right now in situations where I think it's a 250% more likelihood that they'll found not guilty or found that they were justified in a killing if it was white on black versus the other way around. 250% more likely to be justified, and this would help the minority community, black community, that might save them from biased situations as well. So it's a blanket help everyone across the board.
I'm not
Like it's
quite
racially
following.
Racially blind.
I'm not quite following. But I guess that's the problem, right? That they're not racially blind. So that's a different problem that should be fixed versus like making lethal or more deaths. Okay.
That's another debate
That's
we
a-
had. Check our
another
back
debate.
catalog.
He's right. We should get off of that
Yeah,
point, 'cause it's so
I
different.
agree with you.
I was gonna say it's
We'll get off of it.
if you give people like the right to shoot like people on your property, I feel like you're gonna get more deaths from it.
I want to make it very clear that I'm not advocating that you instantly get to shoot someone as soon as they step onto your property. I'm not. So
Right.
stop saying that. I'm not advocating that. That's
Yeah.
ruining the
You're putting words
debate.
in his mouth.
You're putting
well,
words
I'm
in
not
his
saying
mouth.
you're
Debate
doing
it
that.
says defend your
Well,
property.
yeah, I'm not
I'm
saying you
saying
will do
if someone
that.
walks onto the property and says
Yeah.
your property is now my property,
Yeah.
your land,
Yeah.
then you are justified in killing that
My
person.
point is, this is the extreme version of this law. Will be the things that somebody will try to fight for. Somebody
There's
will try to
exceptions to
defend.
all laws.
Right?
Would you agree that we're not saying that?
Yeah, there's still a court system that has to put people in a trial when there's a defend
Right.
your life thing. There's still that for defend your property. If it just like, oh, it was the
Sure.
mailman dropping off the mail and I lit him up, that doesn't, you don't win in court.
Right,
He wasn't
right.
attacking your property. So in your
But what about
fictitious world,
trespassers or vandals? Like, does that count as defending your property?
perhaps. And it doesn't
See,
mean,
that seems so immoral to me. Like, if I'm on my second floor of my house and I see someone break into my car, I feel like I shouldn't be able to grab my gun and shoot him from my second floor. Like, that should not be legal. You shouldn't be able to use lethal force in that scenario.
Yeah.
Another example, since I'm on that tangent, is like landmines at your cabin, your land that you own up north. You should be using landmines to defend that.
Yeah, it's
shouldn't-
not legal.
You shouldn't be able
And that's still
to.
not
That's
advocating.
defending
He's
your
not
property
asking
with
for that.
lethal
Right.
force.
Let's defend your property,
But,
items,
yeah.
vehicles, not life.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, like we acknowledge we don't want to go to full extremes. There is a problem with putting landmines to defend your cabin up north. We're not on board with that. Like I'm not on board with shooting Timmy when my balloon floats into the street and grabs it. There is some room to say like we're not just defending all property any way we can to kill people.
But in Mike's example, if someone comes with me and threatens with a gun that they want my property, I'm defending myself because they're threatening me. Obviously, there's a gray area where like I'm on the property. Let's say they somehow got inside my house and said this is my house. Like,
Yeah.
But then we hope that the police.
I'm
should
very
be
much so.
involved.
I'm not
will
talking
say-
about cat burglars
yeah,
as
sure,
much as I am
sure.
governments
But let's
and
say,
big organized groups. I'm not talking about just the cat burglar. I'm talking about like examples of in history where governments just seize property.
What do you think eminent domain? Like, do you think you should be able to shoot government officials or police officers to try to take your land that way?
Well, in our case, they do pay you like above fair market value. So, is it quite the same? They didn't just seize it. Right?
Yes.
They pay you like 25% over fair market value.
So
Right,
I
well,
think
that's where
defending-
society
And a
is
half more minutes.
Yeah,
But that's where government
Yeah.
is shutting down on your side, and our side, like government's still running. Like,
Yes.
if the government's stealing
Yeah.
people's lands, like that's a
we
failure
got
of
a
the government.
much bigger problem on our hands, and that's like defending your property against government tyranny and a government that's seeking to like wrest control away from the people and to destroy livelihood. that's a totally different story. That's already like allowed for one. Like, we have the right to bear arms against the government in the case that, like, they are creating tyranny.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm against is any form of deadly force against people for the mere sake of property. Property is not worth a human life.
Well, you said
That's
just any
just
form.
not.
A taser is lethal in many forms. It kills people all the time.
It's not likely. It's not at all likely.
Fair enough, it's not likely.
It's not anywhere close to likely.
Agreed. It's
In
not
fact,
likely.
it's exceptional if somebody dies.
I just
from a
had to
taser.
attack your statement
Yeah.
in any form.
Yeah, and so that's what this debate is about. Is saying like property is not worth a human life. A bag of gold's not worth a human life. You know, your house is not worth human life. Your car is not worth a human life. A human life is irreplaceable. We have insurance. We have other ways to redeem that property back.
Again, was it the property, you lose your life, your family starves. I would disagree. That's where I'm jumping in on.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to come to a close on the free discussion. We're going to go around, and each person gets one sentence to sum up their free discussion thoughts. Ben, no run-ons.
One sentence.
That's it.
Brandon, no.
I can go first.
All right, go first, please.
So, the spirit of this debate is that defend your property is citizens defending their land, not from tyranny, but from individuals trying to vandalize or steal their property from them.
One sentence. Boom.
When you evict a tenant and the sheriff comes with firearms, that is a form of lethal force.
Mike?
I think you always have to stay vigilant from tyranny, from theft, from all places, foreign and domestic.
Property is not worth a human life.
Thank you, everyone. That was good free discussion. I like the fire. I saw it in all of your hearts, except for maybe Ben. Really just laid back. So we're going to move on to the question and answer section. We're going to have about the same amount of time for questions. If we run out of questions, that's fine. If we have tons of great questions, we can go a little extra long. It's loosey-goosey. This is all about what the audience wants to know. So we'll be taking questions both from the live chat on youtube.com's live stream, as well as from our audience members here in the studio. We do have a preference. We like to incentivize people to come to the live show. So if anyone has a question here right now, you get to ask that before we go to the live chat section on YouTube. Does anyone have any questions? Anyone at all?
Not to put you on the spot.
Yeah, you way in the back. He's way back there.
Oh yeah, Smiley McGee over there. Come on up here.
I don't have a question.
So modest. Modest and handsome. I wish I did.
I was so focused on what you guys were saying, I wasn't even thinking.
Well, I appreciate that.
So we have one from the live chat. What about someone who enters your property by mistake? Say someone drunk enters the wrong house. Should it be okay for you to use lethal force on that person?
I can answer that. In hindsight, it wouldn't have been. It's a tragedy. It was not okay. However, it doesn't mean the person doing it. Let's say they died, right? That person who killed them doesn't belong in prison. It's a tragic accident.
I agree, because there's an inherent risk that someone that trespasses into your home is there as a danger, so using lethal force is acceptable.
Not in Minnesota.
There's gray area.
There is some.
Hey, you got something to say, Curly? Speak up.
Yeah, just heckling.
Legally, right now, you would go to prison.
Well, we have the castle doctrine in Minnesota,
There's
which includes your home. So if you're in your vehicle, you have the duty to flee. So you can't defend your vehicle, but if you're in your home, you can defend your home.
And if you can prove you couldn't flee for perhaps,
Well,
then
Yeah,
So
So the state of Minnesota agrees with us then. Thank you.
I agree with us, self-defense.
I'm imagining myself in the scenario where, I wake up and somebody drunkenly bust through the door. Let's say they don't even have a key. They just bust through it. I am freaking out, right? I'm scared. I'm whatever. I'm not gonna take a gun to them right away and be shoot them without asking questions.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say hey,
Is that nice
what are you doing here?
option?
Get the F out, right? And
It's okay, you can swear on YouTube.
okay. And then the guy's just who are you?
We're
right?
marked as not for children. It's all right.
And the guy would say who are you? And I'm this is my house, man. And he's just
I feel
wow, and he would say I thought I'm at my house, and I'm no, you're not. And you would have that conversation before shooting somebody, right?
Moderator, get that fucking out of here.
No more story time. Back to questions.
I guess I have a question.
Yeah! The guy in the back!
Way back there.
He's different from the other guy.
Come on, young man. Step right up. Step right
Just
up.
sit right here.
All right, be sure to yell so Mike can pick you up.
How can you justify using lethal force over the idea that you rely on your property for your life when there's so many government systems in place to keep you alive in that situation?
Yeah, but what Boone and I are saying is because of the way we treat the law and we grant authority to use lethal force is the reason why you have those securities. This side is advocating for less options to use lethal force. So,
But I understand your question, and really what you're saying is I'll never starve no matter what happens because the government will feed me. That's true right now, I think. There is still starvation in the United States, but it's more like mental health than it is, right? We could probably agree on that, but
Or poor people are more likely to be obese than they are to starve.
correct. So I just want to say that it has not always been that way, and I don't believe it always will be that way. There are examples of bizarre situations, which fortunately we had good administration, good economic people at the helm during this last pandemic, for example. They printed a lot of money; they needed to do that. It could have been a situation where there wasn't enough food and it wasn't a lack of money. You just wouldn't be able to buy it because it wouldn't be there. Toilet paper wasn't there for a hot minute, right? We were better at food, but there are examples where you can't just be oh yeah, of course the government will always feed me. I don't think that's a constant you can count on. I guess I'd put. In this day and age, sure. At this very moment, sure. Not forever.
I think what you're defining there is the Wild West, though, not the current state of American
Countries have fallen. Every country that's ever stood on this planet has fallen.
Sure.
We will fall too.
Then why are we debating if it's
guarantee
legal or
you
not?
that.
Just kill the guy and then you fight.
Damn right. We weren't debating legality. We were just saying fucking do it.
I personally don't want to live in a state where we encourage the Wild West to all of a sudden happen just because we can.
Yeah, this is the
we
epicenter.
already live in a
This is the
society
epicenter of the Wild West
where
right
we
here.
don't have to do that. So why are we encouraging to do it?
I think we have a lot of the freedoms that we do and the securities that we do because of the laws we have and the belief that what you work for is yours, and I think.
Let me go ahead.
Well, I'm just.
Final thought. We got other questions
Okay.
to get to.
Okay.
And I think it's scary that it seems like we're moving towards a society where it's more acceptable for one group to take and not have repercussions for that. But I'll stop there. I'm gonna go more about stuff.
This question comes to a new audience member. This comes to us from Lewis over live chat. Can you really say you own your house if you do not have the right to protect it with physical force, up to and including lethal force?
I would say you absolutely can say you own a house without being able to kill somebody. like the right to kill somebody does not make you an owner over anything. Like that makes you far worse than an owner. I would say that makes you, the owner of slaves and a what's the word that was owner of gladiators. Like that does not make you an owner. Like just because I own a cell phone and I'm allowed to kill somebody,
I say no because
doesn't mean I.
Because we have police that can enforce or protect your house and your ownership of that house. So we live in a society where we can afford not to kill people that we think are trying to take our houses.
Mm-hmm. We live in a society where there are laws, there's other people to enforce ownership, and we don't actually have to kill people to enforce ownership. This is why we create societies to begin with, so that we can all live together happily and not kill each other recklessly in an anarchist system.
Excellent question, Lewis. I feel like my opponents want lethal force to defend their property. They just don't want to be the individuals who pull the triggers. They want to cry and beg other people to pull the trigger for them.
I want people to be...
Yeah, you know, Lewis.
I want
You
people
know.
to pay
We know.
We know.
I do not.
I want people to pay for the crimes,
Yeah.
and the only way to do that is police officers. Otherwise, you're
I don't want-
justifying murder
Yeah.
for robbing or vandalizing.
Definitely
property.
don't want police shooting anyone for stealing. That would be messed up.
Stealing like an
Absolutely.
entire plot of land? I kind of do actually
No,
want
I
them.
don't want that to be the case.
Yeah, I do.
That would be terrible. Like,
I think people in South America would agree with us. They would love it if someone would take care of the cartels for them.
Yeah,
They don't have
take
the
care
option
of the
because a lot of
cartels.
these countries.
put them in jail.
The
But
gov-
like, we're
I
not
wanna keep
living in
going
South
because-
America.
Ask them to walk into the jail cell, and when they say no, well, we tried.
Because I want to say, you guys are saying we have a government that protects us, but like again, we have that now in this moment. But like, look at these South American countries that the government's corrupt and owned by the cartels that are taking the land, and they take your guns and you take your right. I think the reason why we have such a strong country is because of the freedom that we have, the rights that we have in this country, and that includes what we're talking about.
One of the rights is not to kill somebody over property. That's never been an American right.
Yeah.
And that was not something that has ever been, like, fought over.
Should I read the Second Amendment?
Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. Yeah, you can go ahead and
Does
read
it say anything else?
I think so.
Yeah.
Pretty
That's
long.
it's
long.
pretty long.
It's
And it's mostly about fighting the...
It's like 4
Yeah.
sentences.
But it's longer than right.
Will the
barrel.
moderator read
I'm
it
sorry.
for us? I don't know. Is there any help in there for us? No, the moderator.
But what do you do? What do those people? What do those farmers do? What do they do when the government that you say is there to protect the people, the citizens? What do? Nothing? Go away? What do you do?
So we got a
What if you can't go
Wild
away?
West scenario, right? Where
So, yeah, now we're in the Wild
This
West.
isn't the Wild West. This is happening south of our border
is it?
right now.
Okay, the Wild
This
South.
this isn't a hypothetical, and I'm saying
well, then you're going against a tyranny, right? The government is
every
corrupt.
government is
Yeah.
acceptable to
we should
corruption.
be. They should be
Every government
reforming
is.
the government and doing what they can to reform the
If-
government and reform the police force.
That's a wonderful idea, but my family's starving now. Those families are dying now.
They're defending lives, not property. They're defending lives. Okay, sure.
That's what this is all
Yeah.
about. I think we keep going into this. I think that's what
I'm
Blaine
not
and I are
arguing
saying
against
is that like
defending lives.
Well, ultimately, you may need property to live.
Sure.
you say the
Sure.
catchphrase
In,
that
in,
property
that
Properties in
case,
China.
in that case, I do agree. If you need property to live, and there's no government to like help peacefully resolve that issue, okay, then they are defending their life. They're not just defending property; they are defending life.
All right, on to the next question. I think the last question that I'm seeing posted for now, but hopefully we'll get maybe one more from the audience. This comes from the esteemed and venerable Wallace Heidelberger. If someone is stealing to feed their family, shouldn't we give them food instead of a bullet?
Yes, of course. But if they're stealing, of course we should feed that family. That would be like that's policies that should have been done ahead of time. But if they're stealing your food so you starve, your family starves, so that they can eat, of course not. Of course they deserve a bullet then. If their actions, that's the beauty of America, is everyone, my freedom ends where yours begins. That's the beauty of America.
I think the problem with your policy, though, is shoot first and then ask questions later. Like, and that's the problem. Is, oh, you're starving. Okay, then I won't shoot. But, like, oh, you're not starving. Okay, I will shoot. But you're not even asking those questions, right? And that's the point. That's the point of having a judicial system in place where you can say, I am starving. You know, I need food. Please don't shoot me. You know, and then you can go plead your case to the government and say,
Yeah, but in his scenario, there's no pleading, there's theft.
yeah, I wouldn't shoot somebody.
Even if it caused you or your family to starve.
Mr. Brandon, what are your thoughts?
You would ask that question first, and you're not saying that you should ask that question.
Of course.
Like, you're like, that's my last food. Like, that guy's stealing my food. You know, like, I have the right to kill him.
I'm not saying that you should straight up murder someone, like, just coldly. I mean, everyone has I'm just saying that if they have to, they should not be punished for that. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I mean, taking a life is a very serious matter, so I'm not advocating everyone to start murdering each other. I just...
Yeah, for example, it's reasonable to say, leave now.
Yeah.
Right? And if they're like, no,
Sure.
I'm not fucking leaving. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Brandon?
So what Mike brought up, or like if they steal from you...
The question from...
Well, that was, should we give them food instead of bullets? And I would argue yes. Like, no one grows up wanting to be a robber. They either are raised into it, or they're hit hard times and they need to steal to make money. So ideally, we could reform them and have a productive member of our society instead of killing them.
Yeah. I think our side agrees.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Feed the starving, don't just shoot them. Thank you.
Thank you.
We've
Great
got-
question.
Yes, these have been some really good questions. Thank you, audience. We've got 3 good questions just came up. So I wanna try to do a rapid fire.
Okay.
We'll do.
Here we go. I'm ready mentally.
We'll do one sentence per person for each
question.
Yeah.
Rapid fire to
That's gonna be
close
super
up the
fast.
Q&A.
Yeah.
One
I'm ready.
sentence.
Yep. One sentence each. No run-ons, no stories.
How do we decide it? A snake draft?
Thank you, moderator.
Snake order?
Sure, we can do that.
Snaky.
Alrighty. The first comes from Critical Think. How do you determine when to use lethal force when defending your property? We'll start with Ben.
I mean, for myself, is you wouldn't use lethal force to defend your property. You would only use it to defend a life.
Brandon?
So, the same vein as Ben, use it to defend your life, and if your life feels threatened, then you're justified if the threat is inside your house.
Fair enough. Ooh,
When you see no other good alternative.
Mike?
I concur with Boone.
Fair enough. Thank you, Critical Think. Hope we are enjoying the show. We don't recognize your name, so we assume that you're an actual fan. The next question comes from Joe Kalaji. As a vegan, my animals' lives are as valuable as my own. Should I be allowed to defend them from an attacker using lethal force? I view their lives as valuable as any human's life. Mike.
Absolutely, yes. That's what Boone and I are advocating. If those are a part of your family, yes, absolutely, yes.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Brandon?
Yes. Yes, because people view them as their family, right?
Sure.
Oh!
Animal life
You heard it
is
here!
not
You know
a human
I
life.
have a pillow that
I guess I would argue that animals aren't property. That would be...
Ah!
Animals?
Oh,
I had a two-part.
you.
Yeah.
Nice that he has a freedom.
Animals are property. Animals are not human life. Animals are not equal to human life. Those were all commas, not individual sentences.
I'm with you.
Fair enough. The last question from the lightning round. How would you consider a jacket taking your bank account? Oh, how would you consider a hacker taking your bank account info? Lethal force justified. We'll do scrambled orders. We'll go Brandon, Boone, Ben, Mike.
I hope you got that.
No, I mean, obviously you should have insurance to protect it, but you shouldn't be able to kill the person that stole your money.
Lethal force authorized.
Lethal force not authorized.
Mike?
I mean, there's so many. I think everything's subjective. Everything that we're talking about is subjective. It all depends on the situation. I'm actually going to agree with Ben that without knowing any more detail, I would say not authorized. Without knowing any other scenario.
All right.
This is a great lightning. That's fun.
Yeah.
Well done.
All right. So with that said, we're going into closing arguments. We just want to thank everyone for the great job they did during this debate. So I hope everyone... I hope y'all
This
are
has
ready.
been great. Thank you.
This has been fun. I hope it's been fun for the audience.
Just pulling up the old timer.
Thank you.
And
They're just saying it, making us feel
No.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Live makes me feel better.
now I can't recall.
Yeah. I mean, honesty is good too, but
Stick with the same order or reverse the order?
well, I don't have a strong opinion on that. Blake's more about the order thing.
I don't care. I guess it's for
She's way in the back.
You
but
want to lead if you don't.
He's so far back I can hardly see. I think he's
yeah.
saying keep the order the same.
Truck blue. That's
Latin
what he's
society.
shouting. It's hard to tell.
I don't care. So if you guys want
I
to
don't
lead,
care.
if you want to lead, I
We'll
don't
give him preferences.
Yeah, but since you guys are the
Underdogs.
Would your team like to begin or end? We'll still alternate.
I don't know. I could just go.
You go for it.
All right.
So I feel like from all this, we decided that robbing or vandalizing an item or property is not justification for lethal force. It becomes justified when that threatens your livelihood or your life. That's all I have to say. It's a
Fair
force.
enough.
Your
Oh.
team?
Oh, it could be me.
Yeah.
I think it's
This is
important.
your
to
2-minute final statement.
Yeah, he knows.
For
It's
practice.
his tactic.
It was good. It was beautiful.
I think it's important to say I don't think lethal force is like the first and only option, or even the intent to kill. But like when other options are exhausted, that's the way to go. I also think my opponents have really in a way, authorized lethal force. It's just as long as it's not them. Like they'll call the police, who they know have guns. And those guns could very likely result in lethal force being applied. And I think under some definitions, there are all sorts of things that could fall in a gray area. Like a taser can be lethal. It does kill people every day. It's not supposed to, but it's not perfect. Cardiac arrest and all that stuff. Ultimately, I think it's given enough assault on our property, it will inevitably result in death. So in a way, you have to make that decision. Again, the red balloon floating in the street. No, that doesn't matter. But take my whole farm. Yeah, that does matter, and that's happened. It is happening. So, granted, we luckily don't have to be confronted with such heinous, horrible things. But I wouldn't say that could be a forever thing to count on. I think it's just that's all I got.
Beautiful.
Take it away, Ben.
Beautiful.
I want to say that I'm not about allowing the police to use lethal force willy-nilly. Only absolutely as a last resort to defend themselves or another person's life. And only as a very last resort. In addition, we do not live in Afghanistan. We do not live in China. We do not live in North Korea, in which case our livelihood is threatened or our property is threatened in a way in which we allow for anybody and every citizen to just kill willy-nilly. And the ramifications of this, you know, we've talked a lot about livelihood. You could just shoot somebody who fires you. There's so many like random rabbit holes we can go down, and so many terrible alternatives. And the fact is, at the end of the day, we have so many better alternatives. When there's no other good option, there are so many other better options and good options besides taking another life, that it's just not a realistic scenario in the American lifestyle to ever need to kill somebody for your property. And if you do believe that, that a human life is worth more than your property, you should vote for us, vote for our side, vote for human life.
Thank you, Ben. Mr. Heidelberger, Senior.
I think this last year has shown that our system isn't. It's not. I want to say that opposition takes what we have for granted, because it's shown how fragile our system is and how things can collapse very quickly. We do have a stable government currently, and I'm very grateful for that. But was if we don't? Was if all I want to say is whose neighborhood is next? Yours, mine. If you're a concerned law-abiding citizen like myself, and I hope you vote for the freedom to protect your loved ones, yourself, and your hard-earned property. Enough is enough. That's it.
All right, folks.
Vote for the motion.
Vote for the motion.
All right. I've posted the post-debate poll link in the live chat. I hope you can all log on and give us your thoughts after the debate. We're going to have a brief pause, just quick bathroom breaks and drinks.
Oh, I gotta pee.
Yep. And then we'll be back to reveal the results of the debate.
Cords.
Oh yeah, don't trip
Here
on
we
the
go. All right, and we're live once again. Welcome back, everyone. The results are in. So I'd just like to start by thanking all of our debaters tonight, as well as our live in-studio audience, as well as everyone who tuned in to watch the show on YouTube. We hope that you learned something. Maybe your mind was changed. Maybe not. Maybe you're more sure of where you stood than before the show started. That's good too. We had some lively debates. Ben and Brandon did a good job. Standing up for people's right to not die. Mm-hmm. And Boona and Mike, did a great job for standing up for their right to have stuff. Mm-hmm. I kid. I teased.
We didn't do that good.
Moving into our debate, the pre-debate results were 30% for the motion,
Okay.
30% against the motion,
Oh, crap.
and 40% undecided.
Oh.
Well, that's
So
good.
we had
That's
a lot.
perfect.
Fine.
That's great.
50-50.
There's a
That's
lot
as good
of
as you can
No
get.
bias. That's a great
It was
audience.
30-30-40, Mike.
On top
No
of
bias.
that, lot
30,
of
30, 40.
lot of open minds.
Yeah,
40%
lot of open minds.
undecided.
That's a
great.
good audience.
We like seeing that. For our post-debate,
50-50 meaning
we
it's
had
even.
0% undecided.
Oh, that's cool.
That is cool.
Wait, I mean,
I don't think we've ever
Change
had
minds.
oh.
44% for the motion.
Shoot!
55.5% against the motion. Thank you, everyone.
Eagles will be crying.
Congratulations.
The winners are
First.
Brandon and Ben. They changed the most minds. They were the most
Great.
persuasive.
I'm not surprised.
Yes.
I'm not surprised.
Congratulations.
I really actually.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It
It was the louder voice that won. It was a good voice.
Good voice. Well, it worked. Whatever.
Takedown number 2.
First time ever being Congratulations, man. My first victory, so.
get
Brandon,
it.
stop
So-
kidding me.
That's been our show
No,
tonight,
that wasn't.
everyone.
You
Does
did
anyone
good.
have a
You
shout
stumped us
out
the most.
that they want to give out to the
You did
world?
have some good stumps.
Any shout outs? I'd like to shout out.
I love you, Mom.
Oh, okay.
Happy post Mother's Day.
That's a good one.
And Dad, but it's just Mother's Day. And my wife if she's watching.
Yep.
If she's not watching, I don't love you.
He didn't say that. He tricked
You let this tricker win.
Don't listen
I don't like you winning, man.
Well, I'd like to give a
Everyone's
shout
very
out to
professional, very professional.
I'd like to
no
give
one
it a
went
sh-
into taxes.
Have a shout out to the audience.
Yeah.
Huge.
Huge
I wish you could see the audience.
I wish you
It
could
goes
see
on.
it.
I can't hardly see. Like, I need binoculars.
Most attractive people I've
Blake's
ever
in the
seen.
back there.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank my staff, which really helped me to inspire me to debate. I don't care about any of the people who helped me.
Can't wait to shoot guns this weekend.
There you go. So to wrap up, I'd like to give another word to some more of our sponsors. Dudes, if you can't do the do, they'll do the do for you. Dobish Acres Orchard and Wildlife Preserve.
Nice.
Stay off my property.
Or at least
Websites
force
by
me to use.
Seth LLC. You don't want to know what kind of websites he's had to make a buck. Good night, everyone. Please send complaints and litigation to Boone Greenlee. We'll see you all next time. Have a good one.
Thank you. Congratulations.
I'm gonna start my own business so I can be on mind-altering debate.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Just advertise your OnlyFans account.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You were heavy-handed too, Brandon. Like your questions.